What we want to do then is go to Learn up here and choose Circuits right here, and then go to Projects. And today's lesson is going to be an Arduino lesson. So we're going to show all Arduino right at the bottom. And we're going to scroll down until we get to this one right here, MoodCue. We actually did this one in class with actual hardware, but I want to make sure we go over servos again during this time. So click on that. So this is what it looks like when you first start. It gives you a little description, a little introduction, and we're going to go ahead and click on the introduction and get started. This lesson's a little bit different than the ones we've done in the past. It is going to require us to code by text, writing text, not using the blocks. We'll get to that later. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to use a servo. It's a special kind of motor that goes to a specific position and stays there. We're going to use that today and learn how to use that in Arduino. So again, this one builds on some of the other projects we didn't necessarily do, but you're going to see how we're going to use digital pin 9 and make it work along with the analog 0 pin. All right, so we're just going to read through that and click to the next step. These are some of the things we're going to use today. This does not seem right. Which one are we doing? Oh. Talks about a little bit of background about the potentiometer and how they work. So check that out. A big, good understanding of how that works. And so this is just introduction. Yeah, this is right. So now here's the servo motor. Didn't see that on the list earlier. And again, it gives you a little bit of background knowledge about the servos and how they work. Please read through that because that's what we want to try to learn. So we can use it not just following directions, but on our own. And for the servo, we do need to add libraries. So we're going to be doing that later. So it says right here on your computer, the library was included in the Arduino files when you downloaded the Arduino software. But in this simulation, we have to do it in the code editor. So there's actually, when you're in here in the code editor, there is libraries here that we're going to add in. And so we'll be able to do that later. So that's just the introduction. And then we're going to continue on to setting up the circuit. So next, or continue. And here we go. We're going to start building. So it says connect the 5-volt and the ground rails to the breadboard. So here we go. So the 5-volt is here. I like to make my wires nice and neat. So I'm going to bring them around this way, clicking at each turn, and bring them into here. 5 volts would be in the positive one. I'm just going to straighten these up so they're all perpendicular. And the blue lines show that they're perpendicular, and positive is usually red. So I'll make that red. And we're going to do the same thing over here for ground. We're going to change this one to black. All right, and now we continue to the next step. And you see they did it a little bit differently. Going straight across the Arduino, and that's fine. I just did mine so that the Arduino wasn't covered up. Either way, it works. All right, so the potentiometer in this is a little bit different than the one that they give us over here, but basically you've got 3 pins. If you click on this picture, it makes it a little bit bigger. You can see their pin on this one is up here, the middle pin, and then you've got 2 pins on this side. So again, 1, 2, 3, but the one we're going to use has 1, 2, 3 like this. So we're just going to bring this in somewhere and put it so it's in all 3. And you can see it labels it terminal 1, terminal 2, and wiper. So it says connect the central pin to the analog 0. So that's down here. I'm going to bring this around this way. Like this. And it said connect the center pin to here. So that's in line with the center pin. So I can click on any one of those holes in the breadboard. Again, making sure that I'm perpendicular and neat. I'm going to make this, they have it red. I'm going to actually make it a different color. Let's say like a green, yeah. Like green. And then it says connect the right terminal of the potentiometer to the 5-volt rail and the left to the ground. So we've got the right, I'm going to put a wire to the 5-volt side. And I like that to be red. There we go. And this one's going to be to that and be black. Okay. After connecting all the wires, you can change their color by highlighting them or using the drop-down menu. So again, if you click on the wires, you get this over here where you can pick the color that you want to use. Okay, that we installed that one. Next. All right, so servo has 3 wires coming out. One is the power, one is the ground. You guys can read through that, learn as much as you can. It tells us where to plug it into different columns on the breadboard and connect the red terminal to the 5 rail and the black. So again, our servo is a little bit different picture nowadays than what's here. And so I wanted to do this video so you guys could see the differences between these 2 components, because that's not actually what's happening over here anymore. So we come down here, we find the servo, we could type it in. Nope, not under basic. So we could type in servo here. And I think, yeah, you get 2 choices, a black one or a blue one. This is a micro, both are micros. So either one will work. I'm going to choose this one today. I'm going to turn it around, so rotating it here. So it's like that. I'm just going to put it right here. So it's something like 23, 24, and 25. So something like that. And then I'm going to run wires. What you can do is click off of it. You can see this is the black wire. So technically we could run this straight to the black, like that. This is the red. We'll run this straight to the red. Change the color. And then, you know, however you want to make it look. So you can see that it's going through those holes. And finally, connect the yellow pin, ours is white, to the 9 digital pin on the Arduino. So look at it here, you can kind of see what they did. They got the black, the red, and the yellow. We have a black, a red, and a white. So we're going to take this to 9. So I'm going to bring this down to here, over to here, and here. And again, I'm going to make mine match what's on the servo. So I'm going to make it white. There it is. Some more information about pulse width modulating. Read through that if you'd like to learn a little bit more about that. All right, so if we were actually building this, we saw this when we built it in class. We had to have these little pins that we could put into the servo's female adapter, make it male on this side, and then we could plug it into the breadboard. So it just goes over that again to help people that are building these also with their hands. All right, so decoupling capacitors, not necessary really, but again, a good practice to use to make your components last a little bit longer. So you can see this one actually says it's optional, but I'm going to go ahead and place both capacitors as they show here, or as they tell us to do here. So I'm going to come over here and you can do all, grab this capacitor, throw it here, and then place it next to the servo on row E. So I did it on D, but we can move it up to here, it doesn't matter. So this is one way it would be best I guess, to pin these wires into here, pin this wire into here, and then go from here to here, like this. Oops. That one's the black, and this one should go all the way to here. There we go. And so now we can connect wires this way. And so I'm going to take this one. You can see it tells you that the side with the white strip is the negative side. And that's going to go to the ground. So this has the white strip on it. So we're going to go from this to here. And then we're going to take this one from the positive side to here. And again, I like to change that to red. So we keep the positive red and the negative black. And then again, we're going to do that also for the potentiometer. Again, help protect the components. I'm going to move this wire down so I have a little bit more room to run here to positive side. Oh no. Here to positive side. And here to the negative side. There we go. So black to the striped side, red to the non-striped side. Okay, and that's it. We've built our circuit. The next thing we're going to do is write our code. So you can see here they actually give us the original, not the one we built. You could play with this if you wanted to make it neater by clicking on here and then dragging these like that. But they're fine just the way they are. So it all works. All right. Read through this, get the introduction. We're doing it a little bit differently just because we're working in Tinkercad. So it just explains that. It does talk about the library again. So we're going to do that next, I think. So to use the servo library, you'll need to import it. This makes the addition from the library available in your sketch. So we're going to go over here to code. We're going to come here to libraries, and we're going to see the servo, and we're going to include that there. It's going to write that for us right there. So we don't need to copy and paste like it's suggesting here. Yep, tells us right here what we can do. And we did that. We go next. So then we're going to give it a variable name. So servo is going to be my servo. That's what we're going to call it. So we're just going to copy that. I like coming down here. One thing I noticed, I can't right click. Yeah, I have to right click and do it. I can't control C and get it to work. So I'm going to come in here and I can paste that in. And now we've done that. So I'm going to get rid of those comments because we've included the library. And we're now defining the variables and constants. So we're going to keep going down, reading directions over here. We've done all this, and we're moving on. So now we have to name some constants for the analog pin, the potentiometer. And so here's the code. It just says copy the code, including comments into the code editor. So again, I highlight all this. And I right click and copy. And then I come over here and I paste it. Okay. And so we've got an integer constant. This is a potentiometer or pot pin, and that's going to be our analog 0. And then we have our pot value, which is going to change, so it's not constant. And our angle is also going to change. So those are our variables: pot pin, pot value, and angle that we're going to use in the code. Get rid of that. So now we're starting the void setup. You know that Arduino code typically, at the least, has 2 parts to it: void setup and void loop. So we're starting the void setup. Again, right click, copy, after you select that, and just paste that in. And so the first thing we're going to do is setting it up. We're going to tell the computer that, hey, our servo, which we named up here, servo my servo, that's what it's going to be called, is attached to pin 9. So you can see that right here. Pin 9 is attached to the servo. Okay. Okay, next. One other thing we have to do is start the serial. So to do that, we're just going to copy this again, and that's going to end our setup code. So again, right-click, copy, come over here. I'm going to leave one little bit of white space there for me to make it easier for me to read. And we're going to tab this in. I'm going to keep this here so it's lined up with void setup. So I kind of know that this curly bracket is closing the curly bracket for the void setup by keeping them in line. Again, that's necessary for humans. It's not required for the computer to be in line like that, but I just like to do it that way. Going next, so again, we're going to add some function lines to our void loop, which is what's going to run over and over and over again. So we have two parts, void setup, we finished, and now void loop. So let's, again, right-click, copy, come over here. Oh, so we're done with the setup function, so we can delete that. And I'm going to paste in our void loop. So we're starting to do this so we can get rid of that comment as well. And so what we've done here at this point is we've said, okay, computer, create the pop value, which is short for potentiometer value. Get that by reading the pot pin, which again, pot pin is connected to the analog 0 pin. So we're reading basically where is this and storing that value as the pop value, potentiometer value. So that's going to get turned. I'm going to show that to you later and store that. And then we want to tell the user, in this case, what we're seeing. So it's going to print the pop value with a semicolon or with a colon, and then a little space. And then we're going to tell it to print the actual pop value that we just read. And so we're going to see those things come up later down here in the serial monitor. Okay. And so it does tell you a little bit over here that the potentiometer has a value anywhere between 0 and 1023. And so we're going to see that later as we change the potentiometer once we start simulating. Okay, let's continue. All right, so what we have here and it talks about is that the potentiometer values are between 0 and 1023, but the angles of the servo is from 0 to 179. So we're going to create basically like a ratio. And so this is done by using the code map. And we're going to copy that and bring that in. So again, copy, here's the directions, instructions. We're going to copy this again by highlighting it. And then right click, copy, and bringing that over here and pasting it. And I'm going to tab this over. So again, let's take a look at this code. I'm going to put a little space there so you guys follow with me here. So angle equals the map. The pop value is from 0 to 123, and the other values are 0 to 179. So basically matches up 0 to 0, 1023 to 179, and tries to keep that ratio. And so you can see that's how we rescale it for a value between 1 and 79. And then we tell the, and that's going to make it the angle that we're getting. So we take the pop value, we say it can be between this and this, but make it somewhere between this and this, keeping the ratio the same between 0 and 0, and 1023 to 179. And then get that angle. That's the variable angle that we created up here. And then we're telling the it to print or show the user what that angle is, and give him, so help him out by telling him this is the angle, and then go ahead and write the variable, whatever we find that it is, by using this equals map code. Okay, and we'll see that down here in a few minutes. And read through this to better understand it. I don't want to take time on the video. And so the last thing we got to do, and this was what was missing in the code that we had in the instructions that we used in class, was the write. And so a lot of people did this and they couldn't get it to work, especially period 1, until I realized that this piece of code was missing from the instructions that we had in class. Control C, well, we can't Control C. Now right click, copy, come over here and paste. And again, I like to tab this in to there, and then keep that curly bracket equal with this void loop. So I know that this curly bracket and this curly bracket are opening and closing each other. But anyway, so what this does is say, okay, my servo, write to it or send to it information of the angle that we got here by converting the potentiometer's value from somewhere between 0 and 1023 to somewhere between 0 and 179. And so it's going to delay, this delay is they're going to give the servo time to move to that angle before it goes back to see if the user has changed the potentiometer value. Okay, and so now we can use it. So we're ready to simulate this. And so if you were doing this at home, you could actually take it right from here and upload it to your Arduino and try this code right out from here. You wouldn't need the Arduino IDE software. It works right from here. So let's start the simulation, see what happens. All right, so you can see our servo is moving. You can see down here, the potentiometer's value is 0, so the angle is 0. If I'm to move this to 123, the angle is now 21. And you can see that the servo starts to move. So I can click and hold and turn that all the way around to 179. Turn that all the way halfway. Should be around 90, 89. And then turn this all the way back to 0 and should be 0. And you see the servo moves. So just looping through that, checking out what the value is from reading from here, from the 9. Pop pin is the analog 0, so it's reading that, seeing where that is, go ahead and printing that, converting that value into an angle for the servo, and then telling the servo where to go by writing that angle to the servo. And that's it. And so once you finish this, and you go back to writing the code, little Tinkercad icon, you'll see that your lessons today, you did several things. You did the introduction, you did setting up the circuit, which is our circuit, the one with the neater wires and different servo and different potentiometer, and then the one where we wrote the code. So you actually get all these done with this lesson. So thank you very much, and hopefully you're able to do that today on your computer.